Hello, Rebecca. All right, I've taken some pictures to show you some steps, but I'm going to video this part. I want to show you how marvelous these weights are. I have a Nifty Notion blog about these weights, and you can see I have them in different sizes. This is several washers put together. This is bigger washers put together. This is pennies and some little packets that Philly made for me, but we don't do this anymore now that we figured out the washer method. So what I usually do when I cut out my SureFit Designs pattern is, number one, I put all of the pieces on. I lay the fabric out flat. I make sure there's no right side up or upside down of the print on the fabric, because you don't want upside down trees or bunny rabbits or something. This is roses, and I've turned it the way that I think is up. Spread your fabric completely out. Take all of your paper pieces out of your pattern. Lay them all out. Don't pin them, just lay them all out on your fabric. Make sure you have enough fabric. Now, I never go buy the fabric to match my pattern, because whenever fabric's on sale, and I'm in a town where there's a fabric store, I go to the fabric store and I just buy fabric. And I usually always buy 2.5 yards, unless it's narrow. I don't know if this is 60 inches wide. I think it's probably 45 inches wide. I usually buy 2.5 if it's 45, 2 yards if it's 60 inches. Okay? So when I start to cut out my pattern, I don't pin or weight every single piece down. I lay them all on and I make sure there's going to be enough room. Once I know there's enough room, I start cutting pieces out. I usually cut out the front and the back first. That way I can get this much material cut off my table, move the rest of the fabric up on my table, because it's very bad to have fabric hanging off the end of your table. But I like to have mine flat, so I usually have the end hanging off. If it's in knit, that's even worse, because knit's real stretchy. Now, since you're a beginner sewer, you probably don't know about rotary cutters. But if you're going to sew a lot, you want to learn how to use a rotary mat and rotary cutters instead of scissors, because they're really wonderful. I have big ones, I have little ones, and I even have an itty bitty tiny one that I used to cut out those flowers the other day. Okay? So, I have my front and my back. I'm going to unlock my rotary cutter. And the reason I have two is if one doesn't cut, I use the other one. I figure one of them will be sharp. Okay? You just kind of use your hand as an extra weight and move it around with you. Hold behind the blade. Don't ever, ever put your hands in front of a razor blade. Very bad idea. Keep your hand back here. Always holding your fabric. Move my weight up there to that point. Cut that off. Now this piece is now loose. Now let me see, I'm going to have to stand around my lamp here. Now this is a large sewing room, and I'm fortunate, but at my other house I just have a tiny bedroom. That's my sewing room. I have this exact same table in it. So it doesn't matter if your room's large or small. This table even folds up and gets smaller so you can get it out of your way. Now as you can see, this blade's ready for the dump. It's not very sharp. So I'm going to get my other one. And if this one doesn't work, I've got about 20 more of them. Oh, ha, ha, yes, much sharper. Get your hand out of the way. Did it cut yet? No. Ta-da! Ta-da! Little pieces, go in the trash. Big pieces, I save. Take your weights off. Now see, when you're using weights, unless you've got 1,000 of them, you're going to need to use them on the next piece, and the next piece, and the next piece. So that's why I cut out a couple pieces at a time and move the weights down to the next piece. Okay? So here's my front of my new blouse. It's going to be roses. Keep the paper pattern on it, because you've got to mark the notches and the bust dart and the waist dart if you have one, which in this case I think I do. Okay, so now I'm going to cut out the back. I'm using the sharp blade. Notice my hand is behind the razor blade. Throw that away. I'm going to have to come around that side of the table so I doubt you're going to be able to see much. Put yourself where it's convenient to cut. Make sure you can get at least on 3 sides of your table, if that's possible, in the room that you use. Another piece. Okay. Now I'm going to need my smaller blade to do that little curve. Now, I have new blades. I could take this blade out and put a new blade in, but if I can get this cut out with it, I'll mess with that later. Always got to have new blades. There we go. Okay. So now we pick up all the weights, we put them aside, because we're going to pull up our piece of fabric. We now have a back. See our back? So the back and the front are cut out. And throw away the little pieces of material. And we're going to take the rest of this fabric now, and we're going to pull it up to the front of the table. And one of my weights just hit the floor. Okie doke. So, I'll keep you posted as I get further along. Bye!